You all good to go? All right. Good morning. My name is Danielle Wong, and I'm the mayor of this wonderful town of Bloomfield. I'm joined here by Councilman McCleary, a member of our town council and chair of the finance committee for Bloomfield. I'd like to welcome Governor Lamont, Commissioner Boughton, and all of his folks here. And I do want to do a special thank you to Tony, co-owner of this beautiful craft brewery, small business in Bloomfield. Thanks so much for hosting today, Tony. Just by the way, Rakucha is actually my favorite beer, and I'm proud to say it is brewed right here in Bloomfield. So I do look forward in working with yourself, Tony, and the governor as we work on some shared interests for Bloomfield and the community at large and the state. Bloomfield has some exciting things coming your way, sir. So I look forward to speaking with you more about it. Earlier this year, the governor rolled out his legislative proposals, including some interesting tax cuts, and I'm eager to learn more about it and how it can benefit a town such as Bloomfield. Bloomfield is currently in a growth and building period, and much like a large part of our state, we have an aging population living on fixed income, and we are finding it difficult to retain young families and the growing need for middle-income housing, as well as other opportunities. I'd like Councilman McCleary just to share a little bit more about the state of Bloomfield from a financial perspective.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank the governor. Thank the owners of this fantastic facility. As the mayor said, I am Kenneth McCleary, the chair of the Finance Committee. And currently, right now, Bloomfield is currently in its budget process. And the proposals that the governor has proposed to the state legislature will get those working families, Bloomfield residents, out of the hole. I know we're in an election season, and I think the governor's opponent said it doesn't scratch the surface, get tax proposals. But Governor, as a local elected official who looks at numbers every single day here in the town of Bloomfield, those proposals will get the Bloomfield residents out of the hole. It will help us, as the mayor said, attract young families, help with young families coming to Bloomfield and supporting businesses like this. Not only one particular tax break that he's talking about is the car tax. We know that 30% of the greater Hartford area is suffering with high property taxes. The governor has a solution for that. And so I look forward to working with him, his staff, the mayor, and local small businesses to ensure that we continue to move the state of Connecticut along, and not only the state of Connecticut, but the residents in the town of Bloomfield. Thank you, Mr. Governor. I appreciate you and all of your support, and I'll turn it back over to the mayor.
Thank you, Councilor. Out of all of the states in the nation, we do know that Connecticut has the largest wealth gap. And it is time to look at our broader tax structure and how we can continue to make it better for all Connecticut residents. As someone who has a lot of student loan debt and a young property owner, I'm encouraged to see the governor has proposed expanded tax credits for student loans and property tax as part of his proposal. And as a mayor, it is important to understand the impact in state decisions as it shifts the responsibility to the municipalities and that trickle-down effect. And so I would like to encourage the legislature and our governor to consider those impacts when the state proposals are on the floor for consideration. And with that, again, welcome to Bloomfield, and I'd like to introduce Tony Karlowitz, co-owner of Craft Breweries Back East.
Thank you, Danielle. Thank you, Ken. Excited to welcome the governor and Commissioner Boughton here to Back East. We're a small craft brewery in Bloomfield. We've been here for 10 years. In the last few years, we've been fortunate to grow significantly, and looking at all the tax cuts, I think this is a great time coming off of a couple tough years for a lot of breweries, a lot of restaurants, families in general. We're excited to support the tax cuts, and I think it's a good thing. It's a good step in the right direction, and we thank the governor for that. And won't take too much of your time, but I think I'm going to introduce next. Who is it? Mark Boughton. Sure. Yes. Thanks, Tony. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much, Tony, and congratulations on this beautiful facility. But the best thing I heard back there when we had the tour of this great facility was the Great American Beer Festival. The governor and I will be attending that this year in Denver to do our due diligence and ensure that. And Mayor Wong, thank you for having us here again as we're in the great town of Bloomfield. So as mentioned already, we're here to talk about really three key critical tax breaks that we're proposing for our residents. The first one is a break on your car taxes. As the governor says all the time, and he understands and feels the pain of our residents and our businesses, those property taxes grind on regardless of COVID, regardless of wars, recession, inflation, whatever the case may be, you have to pay your property taxes. So to the extent, in a recent study in the state legislature I just presented, showed that the property tax is probably the worst tax that our residents have to pay. So to the extent that we're able to provide immediate relief for our residents is absolutely critical. Secondly, we're also providing relief for our retirees, and we often hear about people are leaving, going to other states, not wanting to stay in Connecticut. Now you'll be able to not pay taxes on your 401k or your pension. That's also a huge benefit of retaining our seniors, making sure that they're comfortable and safe and they're allowed to age in place here in the great state of Connecticut. So we're excited for the Great American Beer Festival, for Tony and what he's got going on here. Also for the fact that we're going to provide, and this governor is going to provide immediate tax relief for our residents. It's a huge, huge benefit for all of us. It's thoughtful, it's clear, and it's something that all of us will be able to benefit from this year. So thank you, Governor, for your vision and being able to do that. And with that, I'd like to introduce the Governor of the great state of Connecticut, Governor Ned Lamont.
Right. Well, thanks, Mark, Danielle, and Tony. Back east, this place is going to be hopping most evenings. You ought to enjoy this. I thought I'd given up beer when I thought it was just Bud. Now the fresh craft brewed beer is just a whole different experience, I got to tell you. Tony, I like Ice Cream Man, Grateful Dead. Yes, exactly. I mean, a lot of these brews are named after acts in the songs, which I really appreciate. Look, it was a tough couple of years. Price of aluminum going up, tough to do. We're doing everything we can to make it easier here with the back east and our other breweries. We reduced the excise tax, allowed more people to take more beer, more cans of beer home with them. What a difference I'd like to think that makes. We're going to keep going with the outdoor dining. I think that makes things like back east just really vibrant for the foreseeable future, and enjoy it. And as Mark and the mayor said, we're doing everything we can to continue to make Connecticut more affordable. I know that this inflation coming out of Ukraine, before that, demand outstripping supply is tough. And we're doing everything we can to help. As you heard Mark say, number one, reduce the property tax, $100 to $300 credit going for you starting July 1. Number two, the car tax. I think, Mayor, it'll be about a 20% reduction, 25% for folks here in Bloomfield. That's something available to you on July 1 in the very near term. And leading up to that date, when we have the significant tax cuts, the legislature today, in their wisdom, will be voting for a 25-cent cut in the gas tax, something you'll be able to take advantage of within a week now through July 1 until we get those other tax cuts in place. I'll tell you that property tax is really important to me. It's a relentless tax. It's a tough tax. You pay it in good times and bad. And we're doing everything we can to make that a little more affordable, especially for our folks on fixed incomes. As Mark Boughton said, in addition, I hope the legislature will eliminate the income tax on pensions and 401ks. Again, making it easier for folks on a fixed income to stay right here in Connecticut. You can go visit Florida, but you want to come back and watch your grandchildren grow up. We're making that, just a little bit easier for you. And one last tax you ought to be aware of, Tony, is somebody comes, takes a job here, they graduate from a Connecticut college. If you start forgiving their student loan, we'll give you a credit up to $5,000 a year, and for loan reduction. We're doing that, Mark and I. Number one, I want every college graduate, every graduate here in Connecticut to know that we want you to stay right here. There's an advantage to staying in Connecticut, because more likely small business will be forgiving your student loan. And by the way, businesses, hire here in Connecticut, because we're making it worth your while. Anyway, these are all of our efforts to continue to hold down costs, make Connecticut more affordable, and making sure you have a few extra dollars in your pocket so you can come to back east on a Saturday night. Thanks, everybody.
On top of questions?
One question. Senator Austin said last week, I think, during the Appropriations Committee meeting, the proposal for car tax apply
second.
What about, how is that distributed? I mean, is there, I'm not clear how that proposal is distributed, so that what would be on the 23%, but not covered, what would that be?
Any commercial vehicles?
No, we include commercial vehicles too. So generally speaking, there are, generally speaking, there are communities with significantly higher mill rates than even Bloomfield. Bloomfield's about 37, I think, roughly. 36, okay. So they'll see a property tax cut on their vehicles, but you have other communities, Hartford, Waterbury, other places, that have significantly higher mill rates, and they'll see a substantial. So the great thing about this is when we hear a lot of discussion, rightly so, about things like equity, making sure that everybody benefits, that everybody's all in on our recovery, this impacts those 70-odd% communities who have some of the highest mill rates, who are some of the poorest cities and towns in Connecticut. So it's really beneficial that way. And it also stops the leakage of people registering their car in other towns who have a lower mill rate to try to avoid the tax in their own hometown. So some cities will see a recovery of some tax dollars that should have been rightly paid to them.
And one other question, there's been some talk that there could be a recession in the near future. If that has an impact on tax revenue at some point in the next couple of years, would there be a need to then raise taxes to bring in revenue? Is there any consideration in the long term what cutting taxes might be on the state's finances?
Let's start with the tax man.
I would say that, you know, we can't, nobody can predict what's going to happen in the future. Do we watch with an eye, a careful eye? Absolutely. We're developing actually a department in my agency that spends all their time forecasting what's going to happen in the future. But it's never actually something that you can count on, right? So we do know, though, that there are some challenges in the next biennium. The governor's put us in a great position to be able to address those challenges with this budget. We want to be thoughtful and careful about what we reduce and how we reduce it. That's why there are really good proposals out there, and there are some not so thoughtful proposals that could hurt us in the long term. In particular, we want to make sure that we reimburse Mayor Wong for the money that she gives up by getting paid on a 29 mill rate, which we want to set that cash aside. So we have to be really careful about how we do this. Can we plan for a recession? Sure, we're doing that now. We're packing away money. We've got a rainy day fund that's higher than it's ever been in the history of the state, and there's a reason for that, to make sure that we have money in the future to fund our basic core services.
So, is there any plans to repeal the highway user tax since we have a $500 billion surplus in the transportation fund?
I'll start with that. Look, I don't think so. We don't have nearly that big a surplus in the highway and the transportation fund. Secondly, when we came into office, the transportation fund was bankrupt, so we were really struggling. But a lot of our revenues are volatile, to get to Steve's question as well. So right now, with gas prices up, we are replenishing our transportation fund. That's why we can take almost $100 million out of it to give people immediate relief at the pump. But I generally worry about states where good times, let's cut taxes, increase spending, bad times, do just the opposite. I think what a lot of small businesses want, I came out of that world as well, is some consistency. And if we're going to cut taxes, make sure we do it in a reliable way. That doesn't mean you have to jack them up again in 3 years. And that's just what we're trying to work with the legislature right now.
Is there any reason for the gas tax for diesel not being included?
Because so much of that is related to out-of-state truckers that are just barreling their way through the state. I like to give tax cuts to folks here in Connecticut, not out-of-staters. And secondly, look, I'd love to eliminate all these taxes, but I still have to make sure we have a transportation fund that is solvent and gives us the ability to continue to rebuild our roads and bridges. Thanks. Thanks, everybody.
I have one question off topic, if I could.
Sure.
Have you heard from business owners in Hartford about the plans to allow state employees work remotely? And some business owners are
Not so much, but we want people back at the office as much as we can. I got to negotiate that with, CVAC and labor to make sure we do it in the way that everybody's on board. I think you're finding every week more people are coming back to the office. Some people don't have a choice. Some people aren't in the office. Some are state police or corrections or working with people who've special needs, they've been showing up every day for the last 2.5 years. But we're working hard to get more people back in the office. It's doubly important to me, not just for restaurants and what's going on in downtown Hartford. We're bringing in a lot of new state employees. They need mentors, they need training. And you can't do that sitting from your bedroom in Bloomfield on Zoom. You sometimes need to know who your mentor is so you can work with each other. So those are extra reasons why I think especially some of those younger folks have got to be in the office.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.